Don't be afraid to leave a legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, today I bring to you something which is very close to my heart, a journey that has taken a long time for me to overcome some of my own fears. When I was only about 4 years old, I discovered that I had a speech impediment, something that is known as stammering or stuttering. And throughout my school years, it was the cause of much pain for me because of ridicule, being mocked. Yes, I did have my fair share of friends who were always supportive, always ready to listen, always ready to encourage and motivate. But there was an overwhelming majority who would ridicule and mock because I happened to be different from the norm. I realized much later that the greatest fear that people have, according to many researchers, is actually the fear of public speaking. The fear of death, believe it or not, is at number 7 on the list. The fear of lizards and spiders is at number 3. And ladies and gentlemen, the fear of public speaking is the number 1 fear that people have in this world. And part of the reason why that is the number 1 fear is that it's the fear of embarrassment. Nobody wants to embarrass themselves, especially when it means coming up on stage and saying something that you didn't want to say, but you said it anyway. And then that video became viral. And for all of your life now, people will mock you because of that one mistake that you made. So this is why it's one of the greatest fears. I had to conquer this fear the hard way. So not only did I have a problem with speaking in public, I had the fear of speaking, period. And so it was during my O-levels when I finally made this sincere dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of my teachers, he told me that you should recite the dua of Musa alayhi salam, which we find from the Quran, where he said, Rabb ishrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli, which translates to that, oh Allah, make my task easy for me. Loosen the knot on my tongue, and in a way that the people are able to understand me. So ever since I started making that prayer to Allah, the Lord of the heavens and the earth, it took me about 1 year and I got my speech back. I often say this to people in my audience, that I started speaking from that point and I haven't shut up since. So I became a motivational speaker, I became a teacher, I became a trainer. I've been doing this now for the last 8 years, all over Pakistan and even internationally as well at different venues. And so what do? I try to motivate people, encourage them towards a healthy, productive lifestyle, and first and foremost, how to overcome their own fears. As I overcame the fear of public speaking in my own case. I had the fear of heights, so what did I do? I started skydiving. I had the fear of going into the water, what did I do? I dived into the oceans and experienced that as well. Overcoming further the fear of heights, I went to the highest bridge in the world, which is known as the Blokland Bridge in South Africa, and I jumped from that bridge, which is the bungee jumping experience. So all my life, it's been about conquering my fears. And I'm telling you something from the heart, that there is no way that you can conquer your fears except if you put yourself in that situation. I can give you a 3-hour workshop or a 3-hour lecture on how to swim. But guess what? You will not know how to swim unless you put yourself in the pool. I can teach you 3 hours of public speaking, how to be an effective public speaker, but you will never know what public speaking is unless you come up right here. So if you want to conquer your fears, you have to put yourself in that situation. There is no other way out of it. If there was a way, I would have told you that. But unfortunately, they say that there is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs. So in this case also, it is absolutely true. And the journey of overcoming your fears starts with whatever you're feeding your brain. So you need to realize the content that you feed your body is going to sustain you. Similarly, the content that you're feeding your brain is equally, if not more important than what you're feeding yourself. So if, for example, you are reading gossip magazines, you're reading trashy novels, you're watching talk shows which are pretty pointless, then what do you think you will become 5 years from now, 10 years from now? But if the content that you're watching, you're listening to, the people you're associating with right now, if that content is good and wholesome, then it will have a direct impact on the kind of person you become 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So be careful of whatever content you're feeding your brain. Henry Ford said it best when he said that whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. If you keep telling yourself you can do it, believe me, you can do it. But if you keep telling yourself I can't do it, then trust me, you can never do it. So it all starts with right here. The greatest battles in the 21st century are being fought right here. And so you need to give yourself the stock that if there's anything that you put your mind to, yes, you can achieve it. David Schwartz wrote an amazing book called The Magic of Thinking Big. And I highly recommend it for those of you who haven't read it. In that, there is a quote he mentions. He says, the right attitude and one leg will beat the wrong attitude and two legs every single time. And he gives the example of a skier who skis the Swiss Alps with one leg. Why? Because he's got the attitude. For us, even with two legs, if somebody was to sort of push us off the Swiss Alps with skis on, if the fall doesn't kill us, we'll probably die of a heart attack anyway. But if you have the right attitude, then you can achieve anything you want. Because it all starts right here. If you've ever seen or experimented with ants, you know an ant that's crawling up the wall. You put your finger in front of the ant, what will the ant do? Will it take a U-turn and go home? No. It will go around your finger. Okay, you put your finger there again, try to block its path. What's going to happen? Now it's going to go home? No. You do it again, and again, and again. You do it a million times, believe me, you'll get tired way before the ant gets tired. I don't know what the ant wants from up there. I have no idea, but it wants to go there. This is the kind of determination we can learn from creatures around us, which are so hardworking, so committed to what they're doing. Did you know that the average honeybee, how much honey an average honeybee makes in its lifetime? Somebody said 1 teaspoon. You're really exaggerating. An average, okay, so a honeybee is not something that's lazy, right? A honeybee is busy. They say as busy as a bee. An average honeybee makes in its lifetime 1/12 of a teaspoon. Yes, you heard me correctly. An average honeybee works its entire life to make what? 1/12 of a teaspoon. Imagine if the honeybee woke up one fine morning and said, you know what? Let me call in sick today. Let me call in and tell my boss that, you know, today there is a protest, there is a rally, I can't get to the venue, it's very difficult. Because if I really don't make it, I mean, does it really matter? Does it really matter if I skip a day or even a lifetime? Even if I skip a lifetime, does it really matter? But if you think about it, if all the bees had this mentality, that if I don't go to work tomorrow, it's not a big deal, we wouldn't have honey. But that's the least of our problems. Our entire ecosystem would collapse as we know it. Because the bees are responsible for the process of pollination. If that doesn't work out, then your plant life disappears within a few years. And within a few years, the animals that feed on the plants die. And within a few years, you and I die as well. So imagine if the honeybee takes a day off, what kind of disaster it causes to all of us. But the honeybee is committed towards something. So we learn by looking at these creatures how determined they are with whatever goals they have. And so I want to mention this point, which is very valid and important, that motivation, which is what I'm giving you right now, without direction is pointless. Motivation without direction is like a Stinger missile that will go hit anywhere. So for example, imagine that we have these really amazing slogans out there. Right? So there are slogans like, follow your dreams. You can do whatever you want. You can do it. These are amazing things, right? If you hear this from someone, you feel great. But are these slogans good in and of themselves? The answer is not really. What does follow your dreams mean to a serial killer? What does follow your dreams mean to a corrupt politician? Imagine a corrupt politician is walking outside of his house and there is a massive billboard that says follow your dreams. And he's thinking this morning, he's feeling a bit righteous today. So he's thinking, should I loot from the country or should I not loot from the country? And he looks at this massive billboard that says follow your dreams and he's like, you know what? You're so right. You've given me just the right amount of motivation I needed to get the job done. What does follow your dreams mean to a burglar? To a kleptomaniac? The thing is, you need to have motivation, yes. But if the direction is going somewhere else, then that's a problem. So how do I figure out which direction to take? My rule of thumb in that are two things. Being a Muslim, the rule that I've made for myself is that I would never take a direction in my life. Yes, I follow my dream, but never take a direction in my life which is going to be in disobedience to my Creator. And secondly, I don't want to take a direction in my life which is going to cause regret and remorse to my own parents. I don't want them to be disappointed in me. So this question that not all fear is bad, it's true. At the one hand, I'm telling you, conquer your fear. But at the same time, I'm telling you, some fear is actually good for you. So ladies and gentlemen, not all fear is bad. The fear of failing an exam pushes us to strive harder for that exam. The fear of being blamed by our aunt or our uncle for getting bad grades also pushes us towards the same. And so there is no way that you can motivate someone except by the two age-old things, which is the carrot and the stick. The carrot, which is the reward mechanism, and the stick, which is the punishment mechanism. So me as a Muslim, I have the reward and the punishment mechanism in place for me as well. There are things which I know are pleasing to God Almighty, which I strive towards, and then I also know things which are displeasing to Him, so I try to stay away from those things. So whenever I am goal setting, whenever I am taking targets in my life, I realize that my life is not just the life of this world, but there is an afterlife that I have to also account for. So we ask this prayer as it is mentioned in the Quran, Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhaban nar. Oh God, give us goodness in the life of this world, which means worldly success, and also give us goodness in the life of the hereafter, and save us from the punishment of the fire. So this is like a win-win situation when you're asking for goodness here and goodness there. But even if you get like trillions of dollars in this life and you get nothing in the hereafter, then that's not really a win-win situation. Because we realize that the life of this world is only about 80, 90, maybe 100 years, and the life of the hereafter is infinite, never-ending, everlasting, absolute, eternal. So to give up goodness in that life for just guilty pleasure in this life doesn't make sense. I'm going to give you an example from day-to-day life. Imagine that you lost your smartphone or somebody stole it. I know it might be difficult to even imagine at this point, but suppose it happened. Is it a good day for you or is it a bad day for you? It's a bad day, right? So if you lose your smartphone, if you lose, or if it gets stolen, it's a bad day. Why? Some of the reasons I can just count off the top of my head. Number one, because it's something that's expensive. Smartphones are not cheap these days. Number two, it is something that contained a lot of your information, a lot of your personal files. It was something that was useful for you. You used to use it to connect with your family, with your friends, to watch your favorite TEDx videos maybe on YouTube. So all of these things were there, and you miss your smartphone because it was something that was very, very useful for you. And if you wake up one day and you can't find it, you would turn your house upside down until you find your smartphone. Now imagine, on the other hand, you're coming back from work or your university or your institute, and you come home and your mother or your wife or your spouse informs you that the next door neighbor, Ghafar uncle, has passed away. You say the customary, what we say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, that to him we come from and to him we belong and we have to return back to him. So you say that, and then you ask the next question, what's for lunch? And you are informed that your spouse or your mother or anybody or your cook informs you that I've made excellent biryani for you. So you say, please bring me one plate quickly, I'm very hungry. And you straight away start eating your biryani and you start enjoying it. Pause for a second and answer this question. Why, oh why, were you not so upset when you heard that the next door's Ghaffar uncle passed away? Whereas you were so devastated when you found that your smartphone was gone. Why are you upset? Maybe, perhaps I'll venture into the answer that perhaps it is because that Ghaffar uncle didn't mean much to you. Or we can say, what relationship did I have with Ghaffar uncle? Frankly speaking, I don't even know who Ghaffar uncle is until I was informed that he's died. Or it could be that Ghaffar uncle for me is not useful. The smartphone, very useful. Ghaffar uncle, not useful at all. As a matter of fact, even though he's gone, I don't miss him. What I'm trying to tell you is that please don't be Ghaffar uncle. What I'm saying is, don't be Ghaffar uncle. Don't be that person who, when he leaves the world, nobody remembers him. Nobody even cares. Because this person was so obsessed with his own life, he forgot to create an impact for those around him. There are people who, when they leave this world, their whole house truly mourns them. Their street mourns them. Their city mourns them. Their country mourns them. Probably the whole world mourns them. Because they created an impact in the life of these people. They had a social footprint. Because they were not just leading selfish lives, always talking about me, I want more money, I want more happiness, I want more pleasure, I, me. These were people who, yes, they wanted something for themselves. They wanted some goodness from this world, but they also wanted something from the hereafter. And so they gave back to the community. And because they gave back, when they leave this world, everyone misses them. For years and years to come. So I ask you and I request you that when you're setting your goals in life, make sure that you give back to your own communities. Don't be afraid to leave a legacy. For you will be remembered in this life and in the hereafter by whatever you have done in the life of this world. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is an idea worth sharing. Thank you very much.